Hello everyone, this is Valerie with Old Alley Quilt Shop. I'm going to go through the cutting directions for block 14, Along Comes Mary. Okay, so as per pattern instructions, I'm hoping back, I can't remember which block it was, but one of the blocks asked you to keep a 10 1/4 inch square of this fabric. I have mine marked as 2. Anyway, you use a lot of this fabric, and if you didn't hold it back, you may not have a 10 1/4 inch strip left. So if that's the case, you're welcome to use whichever fabric if suits your fancy. I'm going to take off my selvage edge. Actually, if you notice, A and B are both 10 1/4 inch squares. Oops. So I'm going to stack these. If you're not comfortable doing so, please don't. Actually, here. Make up my mind, sorry. I try to make less cuts whenever I can. So I'm going to try to make sure you're in frame, sorry. I don't have a big enough rotating mat, so I'm going to rotate it. Line up my marks. Six, 8, 10 1/4. I can be honest, I don't use these all the time, but sometimes it's nice to be able to use the lines on your ruler to make sure you're accurate when it's a bigger piece. If you don't have a 10 1/4 inch square ruler, to square it up, then measure twice, cut once, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 1/4. Okay. Turn this side first. Okay. Again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to my 1/4 mark with that line on my ruler. So now I have a 10 1/4 inch square. Okay, I'm going to 2 of them. I'm going to set them aside for now. And then, so the C is your background. We need 4 4 1/4 inch squares. Okay, there's 4 of my background squares. I'm going to throw them aside. And I need 2 background square, 2 4 1/4 from both of these colors. Again, so I'm going to stack these up. Square up the end. Okay. So we got all our pieces here. We got 2 of each of these. 4 of your background squares. All with right sides up. Again, some of these are hard to tell. This white one's really hard. And then your AB unit, which are the 10 1/4 inch squares. So the first thing it's going to do is ask you to assemble. They actually asked you to cut these in half, and you're only going to use 2 of each of these, so you'll have an extra 1. But they ask you to cut them twice diagonally. I'm going to have you sew them and then cut them so that your bias seam is has less, that you're not dealing with it because you're going to stitch on it first. So I'll show you that here shortly in the assembly. And the same with these pieces here, the CD pieces, which are different colors. They also ask you to cut twice diagonally. But again, that gives you bias, so I'm going to have you cut them. Sew them and then cut them, I believe. I'm going to try it once. These are a little bit different than normal, or than I'm thinking. These are easy enough to do. These might not be. We may have to cut those 4 at a time. So let's go over to the sewing machine. Hello, this is Valerie, Old Alley Quilt Shop again, coming back to block 14, Along Comes Mary. Let's do some piecing. So the big 10 1/4 inch square, I kind of got ahead of myself, sorry. I went to draw my line across the 10 1/2 inch squares and cut them instead. So I already sewed these, but on your 10 1/4 inch squares, if you just put the right sides together of these 2 fabrics, cut or draw a line diagonally and sew on both sides of that line a scant 1/4 inch, and then cut that in half. You'll have 2 pieces that look like this. And then when you're done, you'll have this section. So you don't need this second one. That was just extra. But you do need this one. So now to get the pieces that you're looking for, you actually need both of them. But you're going to cut these diagonal, corner to corner. There's one. Whoops. Apparently. Okay, so then, as you see, then I need this to be the opposite, right? So we can cut this corner to corner. And then we have this piece. So then, since I pressed mine both, well, I thought I pressed mine both to the dark square, you can place a pin in here. You can feel that they are nesting nicely though. There's a lot of bias still in this, so I like to put in, it's a big piece, so I still like to put a couple pins in it. To keep it from stretching. So let's sew this. Definitely like to have a leader when I'm pulling in those points. So then we'll iron this and you'll have your hourglass center. You'll want to trim your dog ears. So that's the first place. You'll want to trim this to 9.5 inches, 9.5-inch square as well for distractions. Alrighty, so then the next pieces are to make these triangle pieces. And by the way, I did cut mine exactly as the pattern shows. So your C and D's, if you cut them twice diagonally. I've already pre-cut some of these. But what we're going to do is 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the corners. and I'll work on those in a second. So I got 3 of the 4 sides done. I'm going to lay these out. You want to take these. And you want this piece. So on here you can see on the pattern that the dark square D's or triangle D's, there's 3, right? And then 4 of the C's. However, we're not going to sew them in that direction. If you look at the block below here, it has you sew the 3 dark pink block or triangles with 2 background triangles. So you got a 3 and a 2 piece. And then on the sides you do 3 backgrounds with 2 of the light pink. 3 backgrounds with 2 of the light pinks. 3 dark pinks with 2 of the ones. So here is, I've already sewn this one. So this is the 3 backgrounds and 2 light pinks. This one here is this block. So it's 3 backgrounds, 3 dark pinks, 2 backgrounds. All right, so you need to put these together, but make sure that you give yourself a 1/4 inch at the point. You can measure this, or this is how I gauge it. As I put this under my needle, my gauge is that that corner actually coincides with the piece. And here's another example. So you want your needle, when you're coming down, to land right here where these 2 meet. Right at that point. Then you know you got it right. And I do find it easier if you start at the top of the point. So since this is the top of, I realize this is the top of the background. This is the top of the color, but I'm going to start at the top of the color. So as I go through here, my needle, you want your needle to land right where those 2 meet. I know it's kind of hard to probably see. If you look here, it lands right where those 2 colors meet. That's my personal gauge. Especially with these flying geese type units, I would rather have more than less. So if you look at this piece here, sorry, I had to get back in frame. If you look at this piece here, I have a little bit more of the dark pink on this side of my stitch, but that's better than having it the opposite direction. That's just my preference. Okay, so I have these 2 pieces. I'm going to iron them quick and then I'll put these together. Okay, I'm going to put these together, but I am going to snip my dog ears. Okay, again, you want to make sure you give yourself a 1/4 inch at that top, 1/4 inch at the bottom. Again, I'm eyeballing that. I'm going to start at that top. Again, I don't know how well, if at all you can see that. Sorry if you can't. Oops. And it always is good to have bobbin thread. The goal here is to have a 1/4 inch above that point when you're done. And on these particular units, you want that 1/4 inch down here as well. So I'm going to iron these quick. So I need to put one more unit on this side. So there's the piece. I'm going to iron it, snip dog ears, and we're ready to start assembling. So I am going to take the time right now to do these 4 corner units. Oops, sorry. The 4 corner units, they're these. The light pink in the white background. And as you can see, this is how one unit goes. So I'm going to go ahead and put them together. And again, I really like to come from the top of my triangle. Whoa. Sorry. I don't know what happened. Camera malfunction. It's definitely me. Hold on. User issue. Sorry about that. Probably got my chin. And there will be 2 of them that direction, so I'll put these together again. And then there'll be two of them the opposite direction. So they will have sometimes I gotta think harder than I want to. Okay, it's another unit. And then I'm going to iron these. Okay, be back in a second. Okay, I have these units now. I'm going to bring you back up here. So now to the assembly time, we have our block. And just remember the lights go towards the lights and the darks go towards the dark. Oops. And the whites touch the dark. So that's what we start with. So I would suggest finding the middle and pinning the middle of both pieces and doing these two sides first, and then come back and do the same thing. Find the middle and pin these two dark sides. And then when we're done with that, then we'll come back and place these corners, just like so. So, the first step, again, I sometimes find it easier to iron a crease in, or you can set a pin in here. And then take this piece, fold it in half. And stick a pin in it. So now I have my pinned section here and my pin section here. Once I match those up, again, this is the white against the dark. Remove one pin and pin them together. Okay. Watch your tips too when you're on this side. You got your flying goose units on top. Just make sure your needle is coming straight to the where the two stitches cross. Then you'll keep the point on your piece. So I'm going to iron that to the center, be a little less bulk. But I'm also going to do it on this side, so I'll be right back. Okay. Okay, I got all but this last side on here. I folded my two pieces in half and ironed them. I don't know if you can see that crease, but that's another way to find your center. And then just pin these in place. You're gonna have it's gonna hang over on one side there. Usually pin the beginning, but not always the end. Oops. And watch for where the two points cross so you don't lose your points. Okay. I will iron that quick. So now we have our final unit here, and you can see that these need to be sewn on that side. This side, and so on. So I'm going to do that quick and I'll be right back. Hello, I'm back quickly. I just wanted to, before I sew the rest of these on there, I wanted to bring up that you should, to make this work the easiest, line up your line on your angle and see your 1/4 inch line. That point should be on your 1/4 inch line. You should trim this so you can line up your pieces easy and the corners come out. So again, line up a ruler line on that seam, and then from the point go a 1/4 inch in and trim before you put that corner triangle unit in. Okay. Then you should be able to set these on here and match this seam up with that seam and pin in place to sew. This ends up a little bit bigger than it needs to be, and you'll do some more trimming. As you can see, it's a little bit bigger. You'll do some more trimming, but the points all came together there, and that's what you're looking for. Oops, wrong piece. This is the piece I want. Make sure you get the right color. The white should touch the dark pink. And you want to line those up there, and then the seams to line up. You're not required to do pins, but sometimes pins help stay in the right place. So again, line it up. I'll sew these and be right back. Okay, this block is a little bigger than my ruler here, so I'm going to cut it on the cutting table. So I'll let you go. But again, this is block 14. Along Comes Mary. And here is, zoom out here. Here's the block. I do need to trim it to my 12.5-inch block size, but she is done. Thanks for sticking with me tonight, and I'll see you tomorrow.